So I want to go over some of the insights from looking at 6 vehicles, and really there are only a handful of vehicles to a million a year. The mistake is picking one that decays the moment that everybody else picks one, the moment that the market floods these vehicles. It makes it more difficult for someone in terms of barrier to entry to enter that type of market. And so the question that I care about is whether it keeps paying once the market floods it. We really want to determine whether it leaves you with something that compounds or something that you have to keep rebuilding from scratch. And so the first vehicle that we look at here is the agency. This is where most people start. This is the entry. You sell done for you, you land a couple clients in your first week, and then you learn acquisition, sales, delivery, and you learn all of these skill sets. And so this is quick to your first dollar. And you can make your first amount of money inside your first month. But the problem is it's a retainer-based model and you're selling deliverables consistently over and over and over again. And if it's not productized, you're pretty much shot. Agency is one of those things where it's painful when you're trying to scale because margins compress as you hire and you manage your talent and then you run ads and you have all of these excess expenses that completely deteriorate your margins. And so they thin out the moment you start actually making decent amount of money. And so you can get the result, but it doesn't get you completely free. And then we have build and release. We know a lot of people online that are selling this type of vehicle. And so basically what you do is you package a system once and then you install it into many other businesses. So like you build it out and then you just deploy it and inject it into another business and it runs efficiently. This is really good because you can sell high ticket here. And this was really coined with like tech companies where they would build something and then release it or deploy it into production. They would make stage models and then they would ultimately deploy it. I learned a lot of this when I was working in finance. You can sell high ticket here. And so you sell 5 to 10 per month at a $10,000 to $50,000 price range, depending on like what the product actually does and gets other people. And then you're sitting at like 50 to 250K per month. Like this is really, really good. The margins are high. People are doing exactly this right now. But the one thing is, it's like, you have to understand that this is built on a trend. Like the model itself is really, really solid. But trends tend to commoditize. And so the reason it prints today is that a wave is pretty hot right now. And so people selling it to you, they're selling shovels during a gold rush. When we see this type of model, like especially with AI offers, AI implementation offers, they're the growth partner in terms of those offers. It tends to get flooded with other people trying to do that exact same thing. Once that happens and the market tends to become commoditized, it's like you have to repackage it. And so like one time it's AI and then the next it's going to be something else. And then the next it's like you have to repackage this build and release model to appeal to that shiny object that's current in the market. And so you're like through the cycle of like repackaging the same vehicle over and over again just to appeal and sell shovels during whatever gold rush is current right now. And then you have software. This is really strong. It's like literally near zero, but you have a huge, a million plus year infinite upside. And so this is like the dream. A working product earns while you sleep, right? It's like super passive income and, you know, time becomes your ally and the ceiling is enormous. But the thing is that it pays near nothing for a long ramp up while you find out if anyone even wants it. With software, it's like you build the MVP and then you validate it and then you go to market and then you launch it and then you try to see if anyone's interested. And like a lot of people, what they do is they build demand first and validate it and then they build the software itself, which is like the right way to go about it. But it takes capital in one way or another. You're spending hours, you're spending money, and like a lot of the time it requires different skill sets, but it's a phenomenal place to end up, right? Like you're literally pushing to a place of like infinite scalability. When you don't understand software itself, it's like, think about what AI has done to the software industry. It's like literally you don't even have to code anymore. And so the barrier to entry is pretty much nothing. Like anyone can go out and build a no code, like use a no code platform and build out a software and then validate the demand and then sell it. With everybody trying to do that now, they're literally just like creating problems that nobody wants. And then they're like trying to validate it. And then you're constantly on this treadmill of like trying to validate different problems so that you can end up building out a software for it. But again, it's a strong model, super scalable. It's very, very attractive, like for a lot of people. But I believe where AI is going, it's a little bit more difficult difficult. And then you have acquisition and roll-ups. This is like multi-million dollar ceiling. Like this is a model where like I was even hesitant to put it on here because of how far in the future a lot of this stuff is. And if you know anything about acquisition and roll-ups, you basically buy businesses that already cash flow, and then you roll several of them together, and then combining the thing is worth a multiple beyond the parts itself. It's like when you think about it, when you have to source all of these different businesses and then you package them all together, there's a premium on the fact that you literally sourced every single business and acquired it. You went through this long legal process to acquire these businesses, package them into one roll-up company, and then you sell it for a multiple on EBITDA, like or cash flow, right? And so this is another destination. It's not a path. You literally arrive here, and usually with money made from somewhere else. And so it's an entirely different game. It's worth knowing that this exists, but it's not worth aiming at from zero. Then you have low ticket products, digital products, courses, where anywhere from $50 to $2,000 and some even like $5,000 per unit. And so these are fast, scalable, super cheap to deliver. A really solid front end moves a lot of these units, and you use it as a way to monetize an audience at volume, because think about what you need and what is required for these low ticket digital products. A lot of people, big creators, use these as a mechanism to self-liquidate on the front end so they can upsell you into a higher tier program, right? So like they'll run ads to a low ticket digital product, or like maybe to sell a seat for a webinar, they'll liquidate the ad spend. And so it literally nets zero. And then everything else after that is upside. This is one of the most attractive things that a lot of people try to do. They're like, oh, low ticket courses, and they see people posting on threads about how they made so much money with selling low ticket digital products, and they see people on Instagram with all this money selling low ticket digital products. But the thing that they don't realize is you don't have that bank trust and the distribution that they do, right? So like this is something where a lot of people would use this as an entry fee. It's like, think about the fact that people say yes. Like, remember in appointment setting frameworks where you get someone, a prospect, to say yes a lot of times within the conversation by asking them questions. It's like when they say yes a ton, they're more likely, it increases the probability that they're going to say yes for a call. And so like the same principle applies here in terms of actually buying something. And so when you buy something from someone, it sort of moves you in the direction of like, oh, I already purchased this from this person. It's like, oh, they have this other thing that is more expensive that also gets really good results. Like, let me just buy this higher ticket thing and get more access to this person. And so ultimately, you really need a lot of volume. And so like, the result that you can deliver at the price is pretty shallow. It's like you're not going to give them a $10,000 thing for $10. Like that's just not the way it works. And then even if you did do that, they're going to immediately think that it's definitely not worth $10,000 if you're selling it for $10. Like there's no way. Like that because if it was truly worth $10,000, you'd be selling it for more. You'd be selling it for $10,000. The price that something is evaluated at is only worth what people are willing to pay. And so it doesn't matter what you're asking for the product. I could ask 100K, but if I'm only getting bids at like 10K, 20K, 30K, it's like that's true price. That's real valuation principles there. It's like thinking about that same principle and allocating it towards our strategies, especially with low ticket and courses. It's like that's one of the key components in making these things work. Is like you have to align the value as well as having massive distribution. And then you have pure creator, which is like super variable. You have enormous leverage. The distribution is yours. Ultimately, people will say like, oh, the distribution is owned by the algorithm. But like in reality, there are multiple different platforms. And like if you have 100K followers, you probably will have like 1,000 followers on or subscribers on YouTube, and then across various other platforms as well. And so effectively what that does is it normalizes the amount of risk that you have, because you're so diverse into many different other platforms. But attention by itself pays badly, and it's super uneven. If any of you know my story, like my twin brother and I got 415 million views in less than a year. And we literally we got one video that got 60 million views on Instagram, and we only made like $3,000 from it. And so like that was the core shift that I went through, where it's like this attention game is not something that I can actually scale. It's like I needed to find leverage. Like, what is the thing that is going to move the needle in a meaningful way and give me a 10x return on the things and the inputs that I do for my own business? It's like, how do I allocate my time and attention towards something that is going to scale my bank account and also my life? And I think I found it. And so the one that I'm betting on, if you look at all of these vehicles long enough, the answer is pretty obvious. It's sitting in the empty space. So like no single vehicle gives you fast revenue, super great margins, slow decay, and then compounding all at once. And so you have to build the one that does. And so you literally just take the strongest parts of all the vehicles. Like you can do this yourself. Look at all the different distribution vehicles and business models. And then you can take the key components of what makes this vehicle the best. It's like with build and release, we can identify that this is high ticket margin. Like there is a ton of margin in terms of the pricing power that someone charges for these products, these build and release products. And then you take the creator's own distribution so that you build up the demand as an asset. This is essentially what you do. Like this is buyer path engineering, right? Like you have to engineer the buyer path. One buyer doesn't just see a reel and buy, or they don't see a YouTube video and buy. It's like over a longer sales cycle from point of contact or from point of like interest and like figuring out who you are. And then you need to optimize every single surface so that you have an engineered buyer path and that they're capable of converting from wherever they touch from. A lot of people don't understand this. Like this would be this is much stronger than if I were to just over index on like reels and carousels to profile than like DMs. It's like, think about all the different surfaces that we can optimize and leverage to our advantage. And with that being said, it's like with high ticket consulting, when you structure it right, you have the high ticket offer you sold from day one. And so you have the agency speed to revenue. And so you literally just productize your skill and sell it as a high ticket offer. And so like thinking about the build and release model, the offer that's worth buying, the content that attracts the right buyer, the flow that turns attention into a paid client. And then you look at the creator's own distribution and audience and you build up that asset because it's depth that nobody else has. And something that we have to remember is like, how do we do this? How can we remove the call as the bottleneck? And so this is one of the things that I've been sort of experiencing myself, right? So the call, if we look at my calendar as a snippet, the blue here is all sales calls. And so it's like, if we think about what could I have done differently in terms of the front end of my business, the building trust, handling objections, I can do all of that through content and conversations. And one of the strategies and insights that I've been working on right now, and one of my mentors sold me through a Google Doc because I watched all of his YouTube content, right? He had the built-in, the bank trust. And so this is exactly one of the strategies that I'm working on right now, because thinking about all of this time that I'm spending on sales calls, I could otherwise allocate it towards more meetings with my existing clients to get them better outcomes, or I can allocate it towards making the distribution and the trust assets deeper and better and getting out more volume. Or I can just allocate that time however I truly see fit. And so like this was one of the biggest insights and like unlocks that I had when my mentor sold me through the Google Doc. It was just a one-page Google Doc on like what he does, how it works, what I get, right? And like what are the outcomes that I can expect. And so like that frame had me completely shifted. It's like, if we look at like the actual sales process, right? It's like you have the Calendly reminders, they show for the call, you go over the agenda, you qualify, you discover, you pitch, and you do all of this stuff. And so if we can eliminate from here to the point of onboarding, that is an entire process that is just completely eliminated. Think about all the time and all the metrics that you don't have to track. And like a lot of people might say that, oh, it's like the sales call just gets them over the line. It's like, if you can do all of that through your content before, why not get rid of it? It's like that's one of the biggest things. And that's the biggest unlock for me in terms of getting my business to 100K per month. How can I free up my time and allocate it towards more meaningful things and higher leverage tasks within my business? It's like, could I get to 100K per month without having a single sales call while selling high ticket and leveraging this existing model of the high ticket consulting, using the core principles and the best things from the existing vehicles that we just looked over? And so the content does the trust building on the front end, and then you have multiple ways to close. And so you can close through an email, a DM, and then all of it you can anchor to a Google Doc sale that carries the offer and the proof in writing. And so the call, when it happens, you could just close it as the last stretch just to get somebody over the line if they truly want to call. But you also need a tail and you need a recurring room. And so what makes this model work and better than the other models is that because you have a recurring revenue stack within that lives inside of your business. And so clients can ascend into a recurring community or recurring access to you after the main engagement. It's like we think about the core problem in terms of coaching and consulting. It's because it's like one and done. It reminds me of project-based work. Like if you're from a corporate 9-to-5 or some sort of like institutional team, you probably know what I'm talking about here. When you have project-based work, it's like one and done. It's like once the project's over, it's like you're on to the next one. That's the same way coaching and consulting fundamentally is. But when you implement the recurring room, it almost reminds me of like the same economics as software. It turns the business that lives or dies into the next close into one that has a compounding base underneath it. And so if we look at the path from like 0 to 10K and then 10K to 20, 20 to 50, and then 50 to 100, there are many different core problems that are presented within this path. When you're at 0 to 10K per month, you're literally just in the validation and clarity phase. You need to get proof and you need to validate that your market, and you clarify your ICP and you finally package it into a premium offer. And so a lot of the core problems that I see at this is like nobody wants to work that hard to get there. Like it seems like a lot of people just don't want to think strategically. They think they need all of this infrastructure and complex automations and all these preliminary things, when in reality, all you need is your skill and an offer that works, right? Like the offer clarity part is one of the biggest problems that I see. They're just not specific enough. They copy a warm traffic offer from a big creator and they try to allocate it towards their skill and their audience, and they realize that, oh shit, like, why isn't this selling? My content is super specific and it's targeting ICP, and then the offer is super warm and it's not specific at all. And they also have an acquisition problem. And there's a big problem here with pricing confidence. A lot of people in between 0 to 10K per month are just not comfortable charging $5,000, $10,000. And so they have this limiting belief around what they actually do and the outcomes that they can get them. And so when you're clear on the outcomes and the problem that you're solving, and you get this really refined picture, that's when you can have more confidence in what you're doing. And I think fulfillment and results are a big thing here. It's like when you're not confident that you can get a client results, that's really where the pricing confidence comes in. It's like, if I wasn't confident that I could get my client to 25K per month or 30K per month, like I would have severe price. I would probably charge like $1,000 because I don't even know if it works, but since I do know it works, that's why I'm able to price my engagements at a $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what they need. And then we have the back end revenue, right? And so like the limiting beliefs is determined based on your confidence that you can get the client result. And then you have 10K to 20K. And so this is just really getting consistent with acquisition. It's like you've proven that the offer works. And I think there's a key trap here too, is like you can get to 10 to 20K per month with a warm traffic offer. But like when new people come to your page and maybe they like found you a week ago, and you're still trying to sell that warm traffic offer, it's not going to hit as well. And so like you can literally get stuck from 10 to 20K just because that new people, the new eyeballs seeing your offer aren't going to convert. And then you have weak positioning and you're super founder dependent on sales. And so obviously there's a ton of different other constraint possibilities that are within this stage. You really need to focus on like pipeline stability and then ultimately making more revenue. It's like you got to think about business. Like if you're from corporate, I keep anchoring back on that because I'm from finance originally. You think about like the standard operating procedures and the way that your team operates within your corporate umbrella. It's like that's the level of scrutiny and detail that we would like to see. It doesn't have to be entirely so complex. Think about a minimalistic or a simplistic version of that, of what you're anchoring back into like your own experience through corporate or whatever. It's like all you really need, you have marketing, you have acquisition, you have content, you have sale in which you can engineer buyer movement. And then you have a mechanism in which people can actually pay you. That's an oversimplistic version of it. There are just a small number of things that you really need to focus on, right? Like you need to eliminate a lot of the things that aren't moving the needle because they're just simply distractions. And then 20 to 50K per month. This is where I'm at. This is where I need leverage. And so I need leverage in content, authority, and fulfillment to break out of the founder trap and stop stalling around. I'm at $45,000 per month right now, but I need more leverage. I need to get out of those core problems. Like delivery is a bottleneck. That's why I've been talking about getting out of sales calls and potentially eliminating those. And then I have an authority gap and a distribution gap. That's totally why I'm making this video right now, is because I need to build authority and distribution and have more leverage within my content. And then having a clear, vivid path to 100K per month or $1 million a year. And so at this level, it's all about building a true brand and infrastructure. You have a small team and you're positioning as the recognized expert. And then you're expanding into higher ticket or back-end offers. And so like you can do that, again, that's not really a requirement here, but like you can do that at 20 to 50K per month. I wouldn't really prioritize it anything under 20K. Like you don't need these like back-end recurring revenue offers. You really just need to get past that sort of bottleneck of weak positioning and acquisition. But there's potentially a founder plateau and you have burnout risk and you have a shiny object trap. And I think that's why 20 to 50K per month is such a attractive revenue band, is because like you're making really good money, and depending on how you structure your business, like if I got rid of sales calls, it's like, would I even want to get to 100K per month? Like I'm making really good money and then I have all this free time. You know what I mean? So it's like, it really depends on the person and what your goal is. And so like getting here and then eliminating sales calls, it's like, that's when people are going to really just get comfortable. It's like, look at what the math does. Right. So like if you're charging $7,500, you need 11 clients per month to make $82,000 per month. And so what would the funnel look like? 660 leads. You have 53 books, 37 show, and then you close 11. And if we think about the hours per call per month, you have 53 hours. But if you closed half without a call, you got 27 hours left. And then 2/3, you have 18. And then after 3/4 of closing without a call, you have 13 hours. And so you get 40 hours back just by eliminating sales calls. Like think about that. That's insane. The key component is really developing a strategy where you're leveraging email, you're leveraging your built authority, your bank trust, and getting more exposure to this person. You also should have like a really solid funnel. Like thinking about the funnel that I have right now, it's literally just an opt-in with a VSL training. And then we, have a daily email that goes out to the person since we captured some of their information. Then they book a call and then they get added to the calendar. And then once they close, they get this operating system, this Notion operating system. So we have the content OS, we have the portal, we have many different resources within the portal. We give them the weekly posting schedule, like all this great stuff that you absolutely need in terms of like operating your business. And they can leverage this for their own business and for their own fulfillment, right? Like they can have their own portal. They have all the automation set up. So it's streamlined in a way that they don't need to build it out and spend 3 months, 6 months trying to build all this stuff out and figuring out what they actually need. This was our version of productizing and building and releasing into our business. And we generally see two different demographics that work with us. One is generally the corporate 9-to-5. They're trying to get out of corporate and they're leveraging creator platforms to launch or grow their business. And then the other is the creator with a business. And so they require two very different approaches. Like the creator who wants to launch a business, he is over-indexed on attract content. Here, I have it. I think I have it right here. They're always over-indexed on attract content. Like the creator thinks in views. And that's the benchmark. That's the metric in which they measure success. That's one of the core things that we need to work on with our creator-led clients, is that they're so over-indexed on attract content that they're never orienting, proving, or converting. And so like there are preliminary things that must be visible and locked within your business before you can make content to drive traffic to your business. You need a skill, you need the problem, you need the person, you need the offer, you need the mechanism. You need all these business attributes locked, and then you can make content about it. Because otherwise, if you were missing a couple of those pieces, that content isn't going to convert anybody, because there's no person or no offer or no skill that you're marketing that you can actually help someone with, right? So it's like all about bridging the gap. And so like the creator with the business always over indexed on attract. And then it's like the other side with corporate people, or like people leaving corporate or exiting corporate. They're always over indexed on trying to sell. Often the times, like, this is just business focused people in general. Like, they don't have that creative brain necessarily, or they just haven't unlocked that side of the creator brain. They only think of money. They only think of conversion. It's like, oh, Instagram and YouTube are all made so for me to sell. And so, like, that's one of the core limiting beliefs that we have to eliminate with our clients, because they're only trying to sell within their content. And so when you're only trying to sell, I think I have a diagram somewhere, actually. Oh yeah, I do. So when you're only trying to sell, you basically restrict your distribution and the money in your bank account. And so if your content is mostly promotional and it doesn't give anyone a reason to watch, save, share, comment, the account tends to build less momentum. Like, think about it, right? Like, go to a page that only tries to sell. They're not building any personalization. They're not building any connection with you as a person, or like they're only thinking about themselves when they're only trying to sell. And so that type of content never gets pushed out. They never get distribution. It's like the creators that do this well there's a difference, right? There's a caveat. Some creators with small audiences can make millions. But the key difference is that they have high value positioning. They have a deep niche. They have strong sales and relationships, and they have a decent amount of attract content, right? Like, they have a direct demand generation mechanism or strategy that gets people to figure out who the hell they are before they try to sell them. Right? So, like, a lot of people say, like, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. But in reality, it's like, those are stages. That never tells you what the content should do. Function-based content, like the attract, orient, prove, and convert, this tells you what the content should do, right? It's like, my reel should attract people today. My carousel should prove that I can help them. My carousel should orient them. My reel should orient them, right? Like, my YouTube video should convert them. Like, you are mapping functions of the formats and the platforms that serve that function the best, which is ultimately more actionable than just saying, like, oh, this is top of funnel content, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. And so these are some of the things that I'm thinking about in terms of online business and, like, actually scaling to 100K per month with high profit margins, while I'm able to live my life, and getting rid of sales calls so it can actually free up my time. And really just looking at the existing vehicles and the available information that we can see, and picking out the best parts of each vehicle and applying it to the model that we're actually running. And so that's what I'm betting on, and those are the shifts that I'm making. Each one of these vehicles can get there. It's just really about finding the maximum amount of leverage that aligns with the life that you're trying to lead and the skill set that you already have. I will see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.